Hello and welcome to my latest career video. Back onto career videos a little bit while I get the next 100 fighters ready for me top 1000 of 2025. So this career video we are looking at George Byers, one of the early coloured champions and a fighter who kind of preempted what Sam Langford would replicate in the 1900s of being coloured middleweight, then coloured heavyweight champion. George Byers actually achieved that first. Okay, so let us look at the major opponents of George Byers. Now, George Byers fought Frank Childs in a trilogy, okay, scoring 1 win with 1 loss and 1 draw. He also twice fought excellent light heavyweight fighter George Gardner, scoring no wins and suffering 1 loss and 1 draw. And he also fought and lost to Jack Root. Next up, okay, is a more familiar name from the 1890s, the former 2-time lineal and undisputed welterweight champion, Mysterious Billy Smith. George Byers fought him to a draw, and then he also fought and lost to the great light heavyweight Philadelphia Jack O'Brien. Next up is tough contender Tommy West, who could give Barbados Walcott some difficult times in the ring. George Byers lost to Tommy West, and he also fought to a draw against Jack Bonner. Yeah, good to see you, Martin. Okay, I hope you're good, buddy. I hope you're well. I felt a bit detached more lately, Martin, starting a new channel and just churning content out with no live streams there. It's a bit strange. But yeah, I hope you're good, buddy. Hope everything is well. So next up is Billy Stift. Okay, Byers fought him on 2 occasions, fighting a loss and a draw from those 2 fights. And he 3 times fought contender Dick O'Brien, all 3 fights ending in draws. Next up is one of the Sullivan brothers, being Jack Twin Sullivan. George Byers also fought him to a draw, and he also twice fought Sandy Ferguson, okay, suffering 1 defeat and 1 draw. Final name on here, okay, is Dick Moore. George Byers defeated him. So not the thickest resume, even though he was a coloured middleweight and heavyweight champion. The resume, he has some good names on there, but really for his time, the depth is not there. What you'd even see on, say, a George Gardner or a Mysterious Billy Smith, even a Jack Twin Sullivan. Byers didn't have the greatest resume. Some of that were down to opportunity, and some of the results also were down to lack of opportunity, I'll say. A bit like Walcott in his time in the 1890s. But not the thickest resume. 19 fights highlighted there. Byers only won 2 of those, okay, with also 7 losses and 10 draws. So from there we go on to the first of his stat slides. George Byers scored 14 knockouts in his career, 9 of them in 3 rounds or less and 2 in the first round. He scored 0 KOs against champions, 0s against Hall of Famers and 0s against pound for pounders. George Byers also, being a pre-rating era fighter, scored 0 KOs against rated fighters. I've just finished off Archie Moore's career file because I've just been finishing a group of welterweights, 1990 2010, including Pacquiao, Mayweather, De La Hoya, Miguel Cotto, etc. Felix Trinidad. So I thought, I'll finish off Archie Moore's updated career file, and his resume is crazy and his stats are crazy. As you'll see when his video comes in time. But yeah, not all fighters have the same thickness of resume or the same accomplishments. And going on to Antonio Mosley, who's always been a great guy on my channel, I mentioned to him the other day, a lot of people when they're rating fighters, they talk about belts and titles, but they never say, like I said to Antonio, they never say, well, were the belts singular belts or unified belts or undisputed belts? Who did he win the belts from? How good were those fighters? Who did they defend the belts against? So, okay, saying 17 defences or 15 defences, like someone I've covered more recently in career file, Trinidad, in his updated career file. It's easy saying that. But, ultimately, who were they fighting? In Trinidad's case, he fought better opposition, than some other fighters who have long title runs. But, rating fighters is a very subjective thing. But, the one thing I'll always say, my ratings may not be perfect. I've always said even I'm not 100% happy with them. I'm maybe 90% happy with them, 92, 93% happy with them. Some of the results do drive me insane. Going through top thousands, I always mention 1 or 2 of them here or there saying I don't understand this rating at all. Because even I don't fully agree. but the criteria I use is all-encompassing, and it factors a lot of things. Not only talking about titles, but the quality of a fighter's title record. Who were they fighting to win these titles? Who were they fighting to defend them against? Me ratings capture all of that many other people don't even factor in. They just use carte blanche lines of beat Hall of Famers and won 8 titles in 3 weights, and they use that to rate fighters. I'm a bit deeper than that, as me and Antonio were discussing the other day. But yeah, someone like Byers in his time, fantastic fighter in his time, but the resume in his time is a bit drowned by other fighters, as his resume is better than other fighters. That's what I mean. You've always got to rate fighters on what they've done, not on what you've hoped they could have done, like many people do now. So anyway, like when they say, yeah, Usyk could beat any heavyweight in 70s, so he's the greatest. Well, he didn't beat any heavyweights in the 70s, so, speculation, if people use speculation to rank fighters, I think you're on a hiding to nothing, because the only thing about when you speculate or hypothesize to rate a fighter, if you're challenged on that, you can never defend it, because it's only your opinion that someone could do something or would have done something, whereas my ratings actually capture what they did. I don't care about what someone said they could have done, or what someone said they should have done, or I go on what they actually did. So anyway, rounds boxed for Byers, I'm waiting on. Rounds boxed for Byers, he fought a total of 463. 62 of them were title fight rounds. Byers also fought 102 rounds against champions, 30 rounds against Hall of Famers, and 66 rounds against pound-pounders. Now, as a pre-rating era fighter, he has no rounds against rated opponents, so none against top 10, top 3 or ring champions. And when we go on to the slide of champions, George Byers had 8 fights against champions, scoring 1 win with 4 losses and 3 draws. He beat 1 individual champion. That was Frank Childs. He did not stop him or knock him out, so he has 0 champions knocked out. And when we go on to the Hall of Fame category, Byers has less fights. Okay, he has 3 fights against Hall of Famers, scoring no wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. Thus, he beat no individual Hall of Fame fighters and scored knockouts over no individual Hall of Fame opponents. And on to the final slide of the more niche opponent categories, George Byers had 6 fights against pound-for-pound fighters, scoring no wins with 4 losses and 2 draws. So he defeated no pound-for-pounders individually, nor did he score any knockouts against them. So when we go on to the rated opponents, George Byers, as a pre-rating era fighter, had no fights against rated opponents, which is why, like I said on my other top 1000, my other career videos, I was doing on my other channel, that's what the first slides are about, breaking down major opponents or contenders, etc. that they fought, because some of the fighters I'll cover on these videos, like I mentioned Trinidad before, and Miguel Cotto, when I get to them, they do have full ratings for their career. Pre-rating era fighters don't. So, the main opponent breakdown was not only, like Antonio quite rightly said on one of my career videos on my old channel, he said, you're crediting fighters for fighting more of the names they fought, not just the highlight reel names he was kind of alluding to. And that's very true. But, it also helps in terms of rated opponents. Gives people an idea of what fighters have done if they haven't fought rated opponents due to the time. So, yeah, no fights against rated opponents. Thus, George Byers beat no rated fighters and scored knockouts over 0 rated fighters, something that a fighter I've mentioned, Archimore, doesn't have a problem with in any of those categories on there. But anyway, on to our next slide, title fight record. Now, George Byers had a total of 4 title fights. Okay, he had a record of 2 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, with 1 title defence and 1 title fight KO. Now, George Byers scored no wins against rated opponents, being pre-rating era in title fights. He did score 1 win against champion in a title fight, the aforementioned Frank Childs, and scored 0 wins against Hall of Famers and pound-pounders in title fights, due to the fact he has 0 wins overall in his career against them. So when we go on to titles won, George Byers, okay, like I said, he kind of preempted Langford, capturing the coloured middleweight and heavyweight title. Byers did it first, being the coloured middleweight champion and the coloured heavyweight champion. So George Byers captured none of the establishment lineal titles. He also was not undisputed champion for the alternate belt. So there is the video on George Byers. So we're back on career videos for a while. Coming tomorrow is the Michigan Assassin Stanley Ketchel to open up the middleweight playlist. I've also got Barbados Walcott to open the welterweight, and around them I'll be doing more heavyweights, trying to get the first heavyweights done for this 1899-10 period, after which I may just jump to any period I think after that, but I'll get the 1899-10 down as a bed down. I still haven't fully decided yet. That I'm kind of thinking on my feet, but yeah, there's my video on George Byers. So former coloured middleweight and heavyweight champion Ketchel coming tomorrow. I'm the boxing librarian. Big shout out to Martin in the chat, and I'm out for now.